Good morning, everyone. You are watching Coffee with Contractors. I am the host, Splash, the proprietor of Splash Painting in beautiful South Jordan, Utah. My guest today is Scott Finch. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing good, man. How are you doing, Robbie?
I'm doing blessed. Well, let's get to it. We'll introduce yourself in just a second, but just a little background. You are not a paint contractor. Most people I've had on my show are actual contractors. But the conversation you and I are going to have are going to help said contractors. So
agreed.
Introduce yourself, and we'll kind of go over your you have a long list of stuff you've done.
Yeah, I've done a lot of living in my little my short life, I guess. So I'm in a season of life where I'm 47, but I'm more like an old man. So done lots of stuff. I had my kids super young and super early. So I'm actually a grandfather, which is incredible, awesome, amazing. So we have Annabelle like 3 days a week.
Nice.
And so life is great. But yeah, I started working at a very young age, and a lot of my working experience has been in the painting world, in the painting business. So I'm lucky because I got a chance to make a career out of that. Make a real career out of all my experience and the mistakes I made, and so I'm a real blessed guy for sure.
So you were a painter, and you did it for 20 years, correct?
Absolutely. Yep. Painted for other guys. I had my first job painting when I was 14 years old, making $4 an hour. And I never forgot when I got my first raise to $5 an hour. It was so amazing. I'm like, I need to buy an electric guitar right now. So anyway, so I've done a few other things in my life for sure. But painting has definitely been the bulk of it. And I had my own business for 11 years.
Okay.
And so I do have the experience of being the contractor and all of that. So.
All right. So let's transition. That's a good transition. So you owned your business and you transitioned to what you're doing now. Mm-hmm. What is it that you actually are doing now, and the reason why? Because I've watched you on Instagram and Facebook for some time. And what you talk about is very intriguing. That's why I reached out to you. So what is it? How did you transition from being the business owner into what you're doing now, and realizing that was the avenue you wanted to go?
Well, I think the thing for me is that I really like people, and I just have this innate care and like for people. So, even the people that rub you the wrong way, I still appreciate them as a human being. And so I really value people a lot. And I was a contractor. I had my cousin working for me and my son's working for me, and things were slowing down. We ended up doing a whole bunch of new construction. Things were slowing down, and I didn't have a house to do the next month. So I was looking around, and I saw this ad for a job as a sales manager for a painting company, and I kind of lived on the outskirts of the big city, and so I didn't know that role existed. I didn't know what that job was. And
even though you were doing it for your own business.
I was doing it for my own business, right? So again, once I was in the new construction world, that kind of took over my life. But I did about 7 years doing residential repaint work, and so I knew what it was like to do a quote or two every single day, and then also be painting. Anyway, so what happened is that the builder, they needed a painter, and so my cousin actually took over my whole business. I gave him all my tools, and he's done fantastic for them now. He's built a fantastic, great business. And I started working as a sales and production manager, or in that case, it was a sales manager. And really all I would do was set up paint jobs. I would sell paint jobs. So I would do, sometimes 5 quotes in a day, driving around and setting those jobs up. And then there would be a separate person that would actually deploy the work and manage the teams and such. So that was kind of the journey.
How the company you work for, the gentleman that hired you, what was his reasoning for wanting to hire a sales manager? Why did he find value in someone like you? Where did that value come from in his eyes?
I think in his eyes, to be quite honest, I can't say that this is for everybody, but to be very specific about him, I think he's a homebody, to be honest. I think he likes to be able to run the business from home. And he has that entrepreneurial edge, where it's like he wants to he wants to delegate everything, and I understand that. So I think that was really the thing about it, and I think he wanted to be able to, kind of get somebody else who had experience in that area, and find somebody who was really, would work really, really hard, and had a lot of drive and a lot of passion and a lot of energy. So I think that was what it was.
Nice.
And he didn't know he was going to get a fireball like me, but sometimes you got to be careful what you wish for.
I know that all too well. So let's kind of set this situation up so our viewers understand. So you left your business company being a painter. You applied to this ad for someone who wanted sales. Now, let's open that door. This is not just for painting. This is any kind of contractual work that you're doing.
Absolutely.
So plumbing, welding, drywall, framing, brickwork, it doesn't matter. Anything that you're doing. So basically you have this owner, we'll call him Splash. You have Splash as the owner, and he's, I want to grow my business, but and I talked about this morning on my live, is that how fast are you going? And sometimes as business owners, we have a whole buffet in front of us, and we're not paying attention to each plate. We may pay attention to the shrimp platter and not the Oreo cookie platter, whatever. I'm a food junkie, but you're not giving equal opportunity. So this owner is like, hey, I need to pay more attention because I can get the work, but my crew is maybe slow or not getting the money that they need. So let me bring in someone who is knowledgeable. That's where you come in. From how long have you been doing this job for now as a sales manager?
Be 6 years.
Okay. So from day one till now, when you first walked in, what were you doing, and what is it now that you're doing as far as like a day-to-day thing? Mm-hmm. And how did that growth help this company?
Well, initially I was, really focused on sales. And so I don't feel like the first guy I worked for, I don't think he could, I don't think he either wanted to put in the time to do that many quotes in a day. Mm-hmm. I think he could have closed those jobs. I think he could have sold those jobs. I don't doubt his ability to do that. Yeah. But I didn't. He wanted somebody who would be focused on that, like you said, that would be my piece to the puzzle, and that he would do everything else. He would run the business side, and he would do the marketing side, because he was giving me, three quotes a day, and that was all from his own marketing. I wasn't finding my own leads at all. And so that in itself is, especially 5 years ago, that was one piece of work. That was the whole SEO package, all of that stuff, right? That was popular then to get the leads. So yeah, he wanted to really focus on that and have me be passionate about that. I left him because what ended up happening is that but it was still in his job description was to, get the painters and organize the production. He couldn't do that as fast as I could sell the jobs.
Okay.
So I actually had to start going out and hiring people to do my own, the jobs I was selling. And I was literally hiring them way too fast until, I ended up having, four crews of painters, and Todd, the owner, didn't know half of them. He didn't know them at all. He never interviewed them, everything. I was just getting the work done.
Yeah.
And while that was happening, it was kind of okay. But, it was way too overwhelming. And he wasn't able to fulfill that role for me. And on that track, it crashed. It wasn't scalable. So it was like you said, you have to grow in a scalable way, and you have to have certain control factors that make sure that if you want to maintain your reputation and you want to do good work, then you got to watch that, and you got to keep an eye on your numbers. You got to keep an eye on your customer feedback, on your painters' feedback, so that you don't grow too fast.
Yeah.
And so it was all happening too quickly, and I ended up throwing my hands up, and I said, I can't do this. Then I worked for another guy, did the same job for another guy, became his sales manager, and same kind of role where he wasn't actually available during the day. He would sleep during the day and work all night doing getting leads and all that stuff. And so again, I would be getting leads and all of that. And oh man, I don't know what just happened here.
No, you're good. You're good.
I'm good. I'm still here. Oh, okay, cool. So anyway,
really...
yeah, it was all good. That was going okay. That particular problem was just that, he would fight with the painters. So I would be selling the jobs, and he was always fighting with the painters and trying to work them over on money and stuff like that. And so I was like this middle manager who, I would be setting up the jobs and everything, but then the painters would be calling me complaining and everything. So it didn't work out. So that was all sales. When I started this role here, this role was designed specifically pretty much for me. So now what I do is I do the quotes, but then I also manage the jobs as if this part of this company, Finer Edge, it's my own profit center. I won't call it my own business, but I do treat it as such.
Yeah.
In other words, I do the quotes. It's my painters that do the work. Each painting team has a lead painter that's responsible for the job. I check in on the job once every day or two, and I take care of the customer right from the very beginning, right to the very end.
And
so that's the difference.
You're managing the crew themselves now, correct?
Yes. Okay. Yes. So right now I'm managing 5 crews.
5 crews.
Now,
that's quite a mouthful you said, and it to kind of put that in shells. Would you relate that as like if you had your own business? Can you look back at when you were successful as being the business owner and saying, wow, these systems work? Because right now in this industry, in the contractor world, systems is what's building a good, successful brand.
Right.
And a lot of contractors that I talk to or reach out don't understand that you have to have a system. And it doesn't matter whether you're 2 or 3 guys deep or 15 guys. You have to have that system. And it sounds, and I'm glad that you didn't say it, but I'll say it for you because we've talked about it, but you've learned from those mistakes, learning, from the first guy you worked for to the next guy to saying, okay, here's where now you work for a company, you've built in your own basically business. Without giving your actual numbers out, but if someone's watching this and saying, hey, I'm really good at getting sales, I don't want to be the painter anymore, like your situation, how does that work profit wise for, give us kind of a skeleton of that layout if you don't mind, because I know there's people watching this, well, how is Scott making money? Well, you're making money, but how does that process actually work in a kind of a skeleton aspect of?
Well, I think the thing is, like you said, that there are different parts to the business. There are different pieces of machinery. And that if you, if you're a business owner and you feel like you can develop, the crews in order to produce the work, then, I guess for me, in the grand scheme of things, the painter is the most important person in this business.
Yeah.
Is that I build everything around the painter. And so for me, that's where it starts. The question is, can I get good people? Can I lead them? Can I encourage them? Can I grow them? Am I okay when they outgrow me? Am I good with that? Am I good with the fact that a painter who doesn't know anything, 2 or 3 years from now is going to want to start their own business? Am I good with that? Yeah. Right. And if I do that, is that a win for me? That should be, that's a success for me. So if it starts with that, I can get good people. Then you have to say, okay, well, if I can get those people, how can I make sure they have food on the table? Right. And now if I'm a business owner, when I'm starting that process out, maybe I will focus on sales, but maybe sales isn't my forte. Maybe it is painting systems. Maybe it is teaching and developing the crews and being able to teach somebody from how to open a paint can to being able to cut a wall or spray.
Yeah.
Yes, you do need to learn how to open a paint can properly. Yeah, so
I don't want to know how you know that.
well, you do, because again, the first time somebody opens a paint can, they're probably going to be doing it on top of somebody's carpet, with the crappiest little screwdriver you can possibly imagine. And anyway, yeah, everything I know is just because I've made mistakes before. So
Yeah.
mechanics wise, the thing is, for the if you're going to hire a salesperson, you want to have a really powerful why. And for me, that's the why. It's that I can get in great people, and I want them to stay with me, and I want to be able to feed their families.
Yeah.
If that's the case, then I got to say to myself, okay, well, what is it? How much money do I need in my business? What kind of profit do I need from every single job? And then all you do is you have to carve out a part of that, and you have to say, okay, well, if I pay the salesperson, let's say I pay them X number of dollars on this job, it's going to free me up completely, where I'm not going to be chasing deals. I'm not going to be running after that. I can focus on, helping these painters learn how to do it, which in turn, again, attracts more good painting people, attracts more good painters, which in turn allows me, well, maybe I can have a second salesperson, or maybe I can take that salesperson from part-time to full-time, and so you just have to figure out, how do my dollars and numbers, what kind of time does that buy me if I readjust it? Because it's all attrition. It's all like, okay, if I'm going to spend time here, I can't be here. If I'm going to have somebody else do that, I can be here twice as much, or I can be here, a lot more.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the mechanics of it, is you got to figure out, what's it worth for me to give away X, right? So that I can have a similar profit. I think a business owner devalues their time. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that business owners make, is that they don't actually put a price tag on their own time, right?
I'm so happy you said that.
Yeah, so
I'm so
that's
happy.
yeah, so I think that's one of the biggest things,
Yeah.
is that you have to know what your time is worth. You have to calculate what your time is worth. And whatever your lead painter makes, it's probably 4 times that, because the time you're spending, deciding which word to use in an email, or the time that you're spending cleaning brushes, come on.
Yeah.
Or the time that you're spending, driving to the paint store for a quart of paint for your guys, or whatever it is.
Have you been watching me lately?
No, not at all.
No, I'm so grateful. I want to interject on this. You are hitting a point that the last month has been my conversation every day with my wife. We have a good crew, but I'm going to be very blunt. I love to paint. I absolutely love the application process.
Right.
But, in big bold letters, I'm really good at getting the business for us, because I'm the only one that's ever had to do it. We're booking into 2021. And so now I'm trying to figure out where that value is. Is my value on the job site, teaching and doing the work? Or is my value saying, look, I can get the money. I know how to get the bids. My pricing is right where I need to be at. And in the last 30 days, it's like, no, I can pay them. I'm still making the money I'd be making if I were on the job site. Right. Now the focus is that. And I'm getting goosebumps, because it's just like, it's such, and I've been doing this for about 5 years now. It's such a relief that I'm at this point now, because if I didn't understand this in 2 years, I wouldn't be a contractor anymore. I just wouldn't, and I know that. Right. And if you're watching this, and whatever contractor you're in, you have to value your time.
100%.
And you did a good thing. Someone told me this one time, and it's a very dear friend of mine, and we were talking about it last year, and I was just having a difficult time with where my business is going. And he said to me, he says, Robbie, all you do is create a job for yourself. It's not a business. The business comes with the way that you manage yourself.
Sure.
That has stuck with me for a very long time, and it's something I think about every day, especially now because we're getting ready to wrap our exterior season up, and I'm booking the interiors, and my guys are going to be really busy. But the way I've been doing it now is I'm not going to be there. I can trust these guys to do what needs to be done, and I'm still making money, but they're still out there doing those other things.
Right.
The next step for us is what you're talking about. Do I want to hire you? Do I want to hire a sales manager that can be out there? Because I don't want to be chasing, I giggled when he said this, I don't want to chase that quart of paint.
Right.
That's a lot of time, because for those that do know me, when I go into Sherwin-Williams, I'm probably there an hour because me and the manager and the guy, we're really good friends. Like we're, and so that hour is a lot of money. And so you hit it right on the head. And I know that you help people do this. Where, because you and I, this is like a 3-hour conversation, and I know you got work to do. But where is it that people can find you right now? Like if they wanted to reach out to you, because I know you're very welcoming with the conversations. Where can we find you at?
Yeah, I mean, my first role in life is not to sell paint jobs or even to manage paint jobs. Really, it's to give great advice, to encourage people that are in this industry or finding out about painting, with anything and everything that's in my toolkit. So, the best way to funnel everything is through Instagram. So, anybody can DM me, Scott Paint Pro, and we can start any kind of conversation from there. I'm here, to be a resource to help people when it comes to sales or production, those kinds of things. I do have painters that call me, every once in a while, and I just try to pump them full of encouragement. And the biggest thing that struggle that they seem to have is honestly just this thing of not valuing their time, and them sometimes thinking that they're sucking, and they're not necessarily sucking. Is that they have to understand that there are cycles and there are certain factors, and there are things that we can do, but sometimes there are things that we just have to make a shift, and we have to learn how to pivot, and we have to learn how it all works and how the timing works. There's guys that are getting ready for winter, like you said, and they're like, oh, I need to start advertising. Well, no, you don't do that. You advertise when you're busy. You start advertising in the beginning you start advertising in January, in the spring, so that when you're out there and you're out and about, you're out there making money and your advertising is working for you. You got to do that 6 months in advance. They got to see your name over and over and over and over again.
Yes.
But we forget to do that because we're too busy, right? In the moment. We do. And when we're busy, we stop being visionaries, right? When I'm busy, I don't post on Instagram as much as I should.
Yeah, I know when you're busy. I'm like, where'd Scott go? He's nowhere.
Yeah. He's got five crews. He's got 18 painters.
Yeah.
And
you talk about this, and you've talked to me about time management.
Well, the sun is coming out. Look at the sun. I'm glowing. I'm radioactive.
So you talk about time. I want to touch base on this. You told me that from basically 7 to 7, your phone's on Monday through Thursday. From Friday, it's 7 to 3. Tell everyone so they understand this. You have to shut down.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You absolutely have to. If you don't, you forget why you're doing what you do.
Sure.
So how does this work with your crews? Because if you're doing it for you, and you do treat everyone like a human, I know that about you, and I love that. I love that about you, and that's why I've reached out to you, is because you want to treat everyone the same way. How does that go correlate with your paint crews? Obviously, there's hours, but you do the same thing with them because they have their own life.
Sure. Well, and that's the thing, is it's a work in progress. It's something that I started about a year ago, and it's learning how to say no. The most important thing you need to learn in life is how to say no. The most important thing, it's Steve Jobs, when he said, we're not successful because of what we do, we're successful because of what we say no to and what we don't do.
Yes.
And that we Apple trains you how to become their customer. It's a learning curve. You could take a course on just how to be an Apple customer, and so if you want to be successful and you want to be in it for the long haul, then your batteries can only be exhausted so much, and your brain can only be working so much. Listen, you're an owner. The business is important to you. You're passionate. If you did set it up like I have, it doesn't have to be like me. I'm a grandfather. I'm an empty nester. So for me to be taking calls at 6 and 7 o'clock after I've been up since 5 or 4, no big deal. I'm an animal. I only sleep 5 hours a night anyway. So, but you may not be like that, and you got to know yourself. And if you don't do that, if you don't teach people, then the first time that you answer an email at 10:30 at night, then the person is going to be super appreciative. The second time that you answer that email at 10:30 at night, they're going to think, oh, that's pretty nice. The third time that you answer that email at night, they're going to expect that you have answered it. And if you don't answer that fourth email at 10:30 at night, they're going to be like, what the heck? Don't you care about me?
Yeah.
What's your problem?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's Sunday morning at 7:30 a.m. How come you're not responding to my text?
Yeah. It's called I call it setting the tone. You're setting the tone. And that doesn't just involve around business. That's personal life. That's, when we've hired guys, whether they're with me still or not, one of the main things that surprises everyone is we rarely work Saturday and Sundays.
Right.
Very rarely do we. And if we do, they know. And usually it's because the job was supposed to be done Friday. Something happens. It's contractor work. We need 3 hours on a Saturday,
Mm-hmm.
And the rare times that I do post when I'm on Saturdays, Sundays, it's usually something in my house because my honey-do list is gigantor, like everyone else's. Or I have a friend that, hey, we really, and that's business, and that's fine. That's very rare. But my guys, they don't know how to understand that. So I'm setting the tone. Like, this is the time. Like, two of the guys I have, they have kids, and I tell them, take your kids to school, then show up. That's important to me because I value the 10-minute walk that I have every morning with my kids is some of the best memories that I'm never going to have.
Absolutely.
And my daughter, especially my daughter, she's the youngest. If she doesn't have that time with me, it really kind of throws her in a funk.
Sure.
Because I've set that. And so my two guys, they're new. They're like, I get to go take I get to take my kids to school. I'm like, absolutely. Just show up after, and every homeowner knows if it's the summertime, I tell them, look, we're here 6 or 7. School started between 8:30 and 9:30. We're going to be here. And, if the customer doesn't like it, that's on them. That's my tone that I set. So I'm glad that you said that. So.
Yeah, no, it's amazing because we didn't even talk about this beforehand. But again, I'm very, very similar in setting that expectation with my customers. And I explain to them, the guys will be here between 7 and 8 hours a day. Sometimes they come a little bit later, so allow a certain amount of time there. We don't necessarily punch a clock where they have to finish at a certain time. I said because some of them are taking their kids to school. Sometimes they have to pick up their kids from daycare. Well, and we have a long weekend coming up, at the end of the month here, where it's a holiday Monday, and you'd be shocked at all the calls. Well, you wouldn't be, but people would be surprised at all the calls and say, so we want you to work on the weekend, or, well, don't you work weekends, or all of that. Can you come and do a quote for me on Sunday at 10 a.m. And my answer is, well, first of all, with painters, normally we don't work Saturday and Sunday. We work very hard Monday to Friday, and our guys have our teams have families. But it all goes back to this thing for me that the painter is the number one contingent. In a way, the painter kind of is my customer, and they are, I can find more customers. Finding painters with the right DNA is so close to impossible that I would say it's almost impossible.
Yeah.
It's really, really challenging and can be extremely expensive and gut-wrenching and challenging. I tell people that, and when they ask me, evenings and weekends, I say, well, I work, I can make myself available Tuesdays and Thursday evenings, or Saturday and Sunday, I try not to work that. I try to leave that, allow for my family and to take care of stuff around my own house. And the thing is, though, when you start saying no, the customers that fit into that, they are the best customers.
Yeah. Not everyone's going to be your customer. And I think
No.
the mindset with some people think that every house they have to close.
Mm-mm.
No, there's triggers, and we're all different. We all have different backgrounds. When you're meeting these customers, sometimes you have to be on not sometimes, you do need to be on point, because customers may say trigger things that you know that personality. Stop. And I tell myself this, and it's worked great the last 2 years, but it's really hard of just saying yes to every job. I know my value. I know what splash painting brings to the community,
Mm-hmm.
not to myself, because I already know that. But there's some customers I'm just not going to work well with.
Right.
I'm not going to please every customer. And as a business owner and as a sales manager, you got to know, like, is this customer going to be the kind of customer that I want? Because not only are you selling a job to get the money, the customer, and a lot of them forget, but they are selling their jobs to you. You know, if I walk in, and I preach this all the time because I made the mistake of doing it, my lesson learned. I had a customer tell me, well, I've never hired a contractor I've been happy with. My ego got involved. They're like, oh yeah, I'm Splash, I'll do it.
Oh yeah.
No,
I'm the savior. I'm the savior. I got a cape underneath this outfit right here. I'm
Yeah.
ready to go.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Go. But it doesn't work that way.
Oh, so many times.
That's
I'm
a
the
red
worst.
flag. If someone
I'm
says
the
that
worst.
to you,
Yeah.
I will now tell a customer, well, then I'm not your contractor. I know I
Yeah.
can get the job done, but, you know. And then
So many times.
the last thing is, I do not negotiate. This is one of the most important factors I will tell any business owner.
Yeah.
Know your value. Stop letting a customer tell you. Perfect example. And if the customer watches this, great, because they will know that they're talking about them. But I met with a customer last night who we already have a bid. We've got the deposit. We're getting ready to start in a week. And we did a walk around because he was adding some more things on. And he kept saying, well, if we use this paint or we use that, or what if we do it this way? And I stopped. I said, look, the bid I gave you is the bid I've given you. You agreed to it. You signed the contract. These were the terms. Because he now wants to go from using he wants to use Benjamin Moore paint to Sherwin-Williams, which I have no problem, zero problem. But I know my pricing. My pricing's a lot different. I'm almost $20 more a gallon on this job, and I'm looking at 45 gallon dollar job. I said, we can use whatever paint you want, but it will cost you more. And when I said that to him, his face looked stunned that I said it, and he said, okay, we'll use Sherwin-Williams. I'm not going to devalue my business because it's like this. They don't get to go to their boss. I'm like, hey, I sent 10 more emails out today. I need $100 more, whatever the value is, you know? Mm-hmm. And it's important that as businessmen and sales managers that you know, and I'm pretty sure you never, you know, you don't let that bridge cross, but it's a question I'm getting a lot in my emails, like, well, what if the customer says this? No, know your value. Know who XYZ contractor is, because they respect you.
You've got to talk to the thing is, you've got to talk to somebody who's been down the road and who's all been through this valley of the shadow of death, you know, of saying no, of saying, you know, of standing by whatever it is, standing by your price, or the fact that you know, haven't promised a timeline and they say, well, you're going to be done by, well, you know, here's what we talked about, you know, whatever that is, you got to talk to somebody like maybe you and I who have been through this. And to encourage guys out there, you say you can't, but you can. You say that you're going to lose business, but the business you're going to lose needs to go. And the business you're going to gain, as long as you do good work, you know, there's a lot of things you have to do for sure.
Yeah.
But just changing that about your business, and learning how to, you know, you need to get a picture in your mind of who your ideal customer is.
Yeah.
Who are they? How old are they? What kind of flexibility, you know what I mean, do they have, right? For me, and we do work for people, but they're not necessarily our ideal customer. If they work from 6 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock at night, and the nanny opens the door for us, you know, again, we can work for it. It may not be ideal. You need to get an idea of who your ideal customer is.
Yeah.
And when you're doing a quote, you're actually interviewing them to see, you know, is this going to be good for my painters? Because if you don't have happy painters, you won't have a happy life.
Yeah,
Happy
absolutely.
painters, happy customers, happy life.
Exactly.
So
one thing I do is that because you brought this up a few times, is like the time frame. I get that question a lot. I think in this industry or any contractual industry, the customer wants it like now. We're not Amazon people. We're not Amazon. I can't deliver it the next day or same day.
Yeah.
But I do say no, but instead of giving a time, and this has worked for me the last 2 years since I've started doing it, I tell the customer straight up, my concern with this job is the quality of work we're giving you.
Sure.
On average, this is what it's taking us. I never give them a date because, one, I don't know if something's going to happen. Because, and we'll talk painting. Like, I painted a wall before and didn't know that the homeowner prior had put Minwax. This is just a situation. Someone had put Minwax to bring the color back out. So we painted the wall, had everything. We were pulling tape, and it literally pulled off a 12-foot section of paint we just did. Well, we had to resand, had to do the process right, and that took us an extra 3 days. But that customer is happy.
What would be fun would be to put together a list of responses. These sort of like, I'm answering you, but in a very non-committal, way that allows for this. So my phrases like this are, it's not an exact science, but, right?
Yeah.
Or, for the most part, we're going to be here every single day between 7 and 8 hours, and you may have 2 to 4 painters, and so that can change things. But, on any given day, it may take me 10 minutes longer to paint a door frame than the day before.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. The work is done by human beings, and so, things change, and it's kind of an it'd be fun to put together a list of those things that I say I literally say them every single day,
If you start saying in your sleep, you're doing it too long. And for me, sometimes I think because on certain jobs, I get excited. Like the one we're on now, I'm excited for it. I know I'm going to be doing videos on it.
Right.
So I know that takes time. I hope my wife isn't watching. This is why some things take time, babe. But I'm always putting content out, and it does. But the thing is, when you don't give a customer direct time, it does show them that you value your time. And it's hard for business owners to understand that. But when you tell a customer no, it's not going to be 3 days. Using the terms that you said, well, it depends. We could have this, I may have 3 guys on. It may take us a little longer. You're actually telling the customer, I value you, customer X. I'm going to get the quality of this job done right so that I don't have to come back and that you don't need to waste more money hiring someone else.
Yeah. And I think, to be quite honest, I think usually the question is, I think in painting anyway, people are used to construction people who are overburdened, and so they'll go to one house for 2 hours and they go to another house for 2 hours so that they can make a showing on each site. And I think a lot of times they're just trying to make sure, or they've had experiences where painters will do that same thing, and they want to make sure that it's not going to drag on.
Yeah.
Usually that's what it is. Now, if there's a specific reason, and a lot of times I will ask people, well, why do you want to have it? Can you come see me, give me the quote today? And, could I move everything around and move heaven and earth? I could, but I want them to understand that my time is valuable, and my company who's paying for my time, I have to be a good steward of that time, right? And so I have to say to them, well, why if we were to get together today, how would that help you?
Yeah.
Well, I just really want to know. So, well, if there's something really urgent, then let's talk about that. But if not, my first availability for a quote is next week.
But then they don't want the job done until next March.
Yeah, or there's some anomaly, or you do go see them and they say, well, we want it done by. And sometimes I'll say, well, what's the reason for that? Because the truth of, if you get to the truth of it, there are customers that we have where it's a real estate situation and they get the keys on Thursday and they got to move in by Monday.
Yeah.
So that's a reason. That's a powerful why. And that makes sense. But sometimes people just want what they want. And sometimes you have to provide what they need, not necessarily what they want. And if it doesn't work out, then
if that's the situation you're in, so I kind of do that. Like my guys are on a crew, but I go out and paint my own houses because I love the application process. But that's kind of what the transition's been the last month, is that because I do work with realtors in my my neighborhood. I never leave my neighborhood, but I mean, we probably sell. There's probably 70 homes that sell a month in my area. That's just astronomical. But I know, I'm getting ready to set up a crew that's going to handle my real estate side for me.
Right.
This is why I'm glad you actually touched on this, because it's something that we've been talking about. Is like where I can dedicate 3 good humans that just want to make money within a time frame, that want a different change every day, that they're handling the real estate side. And as a business owner, even a sales manager, it's a huge thing, because we're doing it because the money. Let's not lie. It's good money. It just takes time. You have to slow down and pick from each plate, as we talked about, to make that happen. So, well, yeah. Scott, I appreciate the conversation. I know you got to go.
My pleasure.
We'll definitely do this again. Tell
Love
everyone
it.
Again on Instagram, Scott Paint Pro.
It's Scott Paint Pro. Yep, and that's the best way. I think my phone number's in there, but that's the best way to get a conversation going. If there's anything I can do to help you in this great profession that we somehow got wrapped up in, I love it, and I love the people that love it, and so that means I love you, Robbie.
Oh, thank you. But this is not just for painters, though. I don't want to make this mistake. The program you've built for you, what you've done in your success, is something. If you're a drywaller, a plumber.
Yeah, honestly, there's all kinds of applications where you're going to be doing work in somebody's home. There's all kinds of applications for life, but definitely if you're going to be doing work in someone's home, where there's going to be an inspection as to how well the work has been done, and it's a home service or a business service, there's all of that. Everything that we're talking about is absolutely true. And I mean, that's why I get headhunted by different I get headhunted by window companies, and because they see that what I've learned and what I know, it works in all those cases. Yeah. So where you've got to set expectations with a person, and then kind of cook the meal for them and have them eat it, that's a different world than, just, selling cars or, all of that kind of stuff, where you're having human beings that are actually doing the work. Those are the kinds of people that I really believe that I can help, whether you are a production manager, or whether you're a sales manager, or whether you're a business owner. I have made tons and tons of mistakes in all of those areas. And the last thing I'll say is that it's important that we always are, we have this mindset that we are always learning, that everything is a learning experience. And we have the humility to understand that even if we're 70 years old and we've been doing one thing our whole entire life, we probably only know about, a small percentage of what there is to know. There's always 100 times more to learn than what we know. And so it's important in the good times and in the bad times to have this sort of absorbency. It's like, okay, I'm going to take this in intentionally. I'm going to learn from it, and I'm going to put it into action. Put that knowledge and that experience into action, something so that it didn't get lost. Knowledge is not power. Power is knowledge accompanied by appropriate action. It's the action. That's where the power is. And so no matter what you've been through, no matter what you're going through, then, you can turn that into power and strength and new systems for new growth.
And someone out there,
I can help you with that.
Someone out there's gone through it. Probably me and you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We've learned from it. Well, thank you so much, Scott. I appreciate it. I know you got to go. I got to go.
My pleasure.
We'll put a link in here where they can find you out as well. It's been my pleasure, and we'll have to do this again for sure.
Love it, Rob. Thanks.
Thank you, man. Bye.
Bye.